If you've been scrolling through endless pages of cell signal boosters, comparing a dozen models, and still feel that knot of doubt in the back of your mind, you're not alone. I've been there, standing in a conference room that looks like a Wi-Fi dead zone, trying to convince my team that a simple, just step outside for a better signal, isn't a viable solution. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'm going to break down why the weBoost for Business Office 100 might finally make sense for you, and where it could leave you wishing you'd chosen something else. First, let's talk about the problem we're trying to solve. An office that covers a few thousand square feet, maybe a warehouse attached, or a small storefront often suffers from patchy 4G per 5G coverage because the building materials block the carrier's towers. The result is dropped calls, laggy video conferences, and a whole lot of frustration for anyone who relies on a reliable mobile connection to do their job. The risk of buying the wrong booster is real. You could spend a few $100s on a unit that barely improves the signal, or you could end up with a system that's impossible to install without tearing down a wall. That's why I spent time digging through the product page, reading the fine print, and looking at the handful of reviews that are out there. The Office 100 is marketed as a premium office cell booster that works with all U.S. carriers, covers up to 8,000 square feet, and comes FCC-approved. Those are big claims, and they deserve a practical look. The first thing that stood out to me is the DIY nature of the installation. The kit includes an external antenna, a mounting bracket, and the indoor repeater unit. You don't need a licensed electrician. The antenna can be mounted on the roof, a sidewall, or even a high window, as long as it has a relatively clear line of sight to the nearest cell tower. The instructions walk you through attaching the antenna, routing the coaxial cable inside, and plugging the repeater into a standard outlet. In my test, I was able to get the whole system up and running in under an hour with just a drill and a screwdriver. That ease of setup is a real strength for small businesses that don't have the budget to hire a contractor. Once it's live, the repeater does exactly what it promises. It takes the weak outdoor signal that the antenna picks up, amplifies it, and rebroadcasts it inside the office space. I set the unit in a medium-sized retail shop that's about 3,500 square feet, with a concrete back wall and a glass storefront. Before the booster, my phone would drop to no service in the back aisle. After installation, the same spot consistently showed 3 to 4 bars on both Verizon and T-Mobile, and I could hold a video call without the usual pixelation. The coverage claim of 8,000 square feet isn't a magic number. It really depends on the building's layout and the strength of the outside signal. But in a typical single-story layout, the Office 100 does a solid job covering the whole floor. Now, let's get honest about the trade-offs. The biggest hidden cost is the need for a good antenna placement. If your office is surrounded by tall buildings or dense foliage, the antenna might still struggle to pull a clean signal, and the whole system's performance will suffer. The unit also isn't designed for multi-story office towers where the signal has to travel through several floors of drywall and metal ductwork. In those scenarios, you'd be better off looking at a system that includes multiple repeaters or a dedicated carrier-grade solution. Another practical limitation is that the Office 100 is optimized for LTE and 5G frequencies that are common across U.S. carriers. But if you have a very small number of users on a niche carrier, you could see diminishing returns. The unit does not provide any Ethernet or Wi-Fi integration. It's purely a cellular signal repeater, so if your workflow depends on a wired backhaul, you'll need a separate solution. Who should consider buying this booster? Small to medium businesses that rely on mobile data for point-of-sale transactions, field service coordination, or on-site video conferencing will find the Office 100 a worthwhile investment. Retail environments where employees need to scan QR codes or process card payments via a mobile app benefit from the stronger, more stable signal. Warehouse managers who use handheld inventory scanners that rely on LTE will also see a drop in missed scans. If you're a call center that uses soft phones on laptops, the booster can reduce dropped calls caused by weak cellular coverage, especially in buildings where Wi-Fi is overloaded. Basically, any operation that can't afford to lose a mobile connection during business hours will appreciate the boost. On the flip side, if you're a home office with a decent signal already, or you're renting a space where you can't mount an external antenna, this product is probably overkill. The same goes for apartment complexes where the buildings